Good afternoon, guys. The sun is setting, my cats are here, and I want to have a little bit of a chat about discretion as a sex worker, online and in person, my personal policies, what I think is fair and not fair, and things like NDAs. So maybe we start with NDAs because I feel like this isn't a topic I see discussed very often. An NDA is a non-disclosure agreement, which is a contract between you and the client, essentially enforcing that you will not talk about the experiences with them. This is common with high-profile people, celebrities, people with a super high net worth, that kind of thing. And essentially, it's a contract saying that you are going to be penalized legally, financially, if you go and yap your little mouth away about having seen that person as a client or even alluding to it. Now, NDAs are not valid if a crime occurs. So if you were assaulted in a booking by that person, let's say they're a famous footy player and they assault you during a booking and you signed an NDA, you're still able to go to the police about that. Your NDA does not cover, no matter what they write in it legally, an NDA does not cover a crime, okay? Now, these are pretty expensive for people to put together, so it's not something that your average everyday corporate person using the service is even going to consider or look into. However, it is something that is done by very high profile individuals. Now, most workers will be open to these. At first, I was a little bit reluctant to do these kinds of bookings or to consider NDAs because I didn't realize that if it was a crime, I could speak about it. Now, knowing that, obviously this is just to protect them and to protect their privacy, and generally they're not doing it with the intention of hurting you during the booking. Now, with all of that said about NDAs, let's talk about just discretion in general when it comes to full service sex work and seeing an escort. Now, for me personally, the way that I run my business, if somebody is a paying customer of mine or has ever been a paying customer of mine, I feel that they are owed discretion. Now, if their wife, a family member, anything like that is to contact me and ask me if I have seen them, I would just say no. It's not my business to involve myself in their personal dramas, and as a provider, it's my responsibility to hold their discretion. Now, there is a little bit of an exception to that. If somebody had assaulted me during a booking, this could be like the client of mine who anally raped me. This could be like the client who tore the hair out of my head all along the bottom of my hair, something of this nature, something quite severe. I don't think that I would owe them discretion any longer. Now, this may be an unpopular opinion within the industry, and some workers will say that in order to, keep people booking my services, I should say that I wouldn't even in this case. But I'm just making it public knowledge that if an assault was to occur, a serious assault, not a minor assault, a serious assault was to occur during a booking with myself, and their wife was to reach out and ask me if I had seen them, in that instance, I would be telling the wife, and I would be telling her exactly what he did. But in my time doing this job, I've been seeing clients for 2 years now, I would only consider this on maybe about 4 bookings in my career that I feel were extreme enough that I really wouldn't owe them that discretion anymore. Even if I disliked a client or I had to give them a warning during a booking that something they were doing wasn't okay, but then they stopped doing it, they would still be owed discretion, right? And to me, it wouldn't matter if I saw the client 5 or 10 years ago. I have actually had a few clients that indirectly know me personally, and I didn't realize until a few bookings in, who are married to people that I do know. And again, it's not my business. It's not my business, and I'm not going to say anything about that kind of thing to them. I do get a lot of comments on TikTok when I share things like time-wasted text, or if you've ever seen sometimes on Instagram when I have somebody verbally abuse me over text, and then I am able to find their first name or their last name or something online, or I'm able to send that person a photo of themselves, or that person sends me photos of themselves and then later abuses me, etc., right? These kind of instances where somebody was never a legitimate customer or somebody has never paid me $1, I do not owe them discretion. I do not owe discretion to some guy who sent me text messages calling me a dirty whore, okay? They are not a client. They're a fantasy booker. They are a hater. They are the kind of shit that needs to be sorted out within society. So in those instances, there is absolutely no discretion owed to that person. The way I run my business, if you are not a paying customer, if you are simply a time-wasting, inquiring, fucking around on my phone customer, if you have not paid me, the discretion is not owed to you, okay? And you know, a serious inquiry, why would I ever go and post that publicly with the number attached to it? But if you are going to harass me, if you are going to abuse me, if you are going to do anything that is toxic, that is dangerous, I'm allowed to post it. I'm sorry, but I am. Like, you have not paid me $1. You've wasted my time. You've called me a dirty whore. If I want to post your phone number, I fucking well will. That is just the reality of life. So you just need to be polite to the girls. Be nice. It's not that fucking hard. It's really not that fucking hard. As for my story time on TikTok, the one that has the highest views on my current TikTok account. Now, that story of that client ripping out my hair has gone pretty viral. It's over 1 million views at the moment. And I have been contacted by news agencies about that video. And then essentially they've bought the rights to that video. Now, I guess if that was getting a lot of media traction, and I was asked to give his name, now that he's dead, I would probably consider it. I know that there will be people who don't think that that's ethical and who don't think that that is right and that he should still be owed discretion. But that man had ample opportunities to fix the situation of what he had done to me and the damage that he had caused me, because obviously the extensions alone that had to be replaced were hundreds of dollars. The damage that is still there in my hair to this day, a year after that booking, is worth a lot of money. The mental trauma is worth a lot of money. That man was in a financial position that he absolutely could have paid the damages, but he chose not to. So he's not owed any kind of discretion by me. That is that. If potential clients feel threatened by that, they should maybe think about why. If you're going to see a provider and you're not intending to do anything wrong, why would you feel threatened by that? You know, if something minor goes wrong, let's say, for example, not in my instance, but let's say a provider doesn't allow fingering and you didn't realize and you start fingering them and they tell you to stop, that would not be worthy at all of them publicly outing you. Absolutely not. That is ridiculous and petty and stupid, okay? Or you cancelling on a booking, that would not be worthy of somebody coming out and publicly talking about you. But if you're going to hurt somebody, if you're going to rip hair out of their head, if you're going to injure them, you reap what you sow. In general, if you are a well-behaved client, even a decently behaved client, and you're just in there to do the booking and that's it, you're not there to hurt anyone, you're not there to cause any drama, the girls will leave you alone. If your wife contacts us, we're going to say we didn't see you. We're going to say we have no idea who you are. It is not our fucking business and we don't care. At the end of the day, you are paying our bills. That's how I pay this apartment, is from my clients. I have no intention of hurting the clients who don't hurt me. It's a two-way street. You be nice to me, I be nice to you. That is just how simple it is. So I hope that clarifies some things. And as for the NDAs, I think that if you're another escort who watches my content, maybe do a little bit of a dig into it yourself, because I think it's important to understand the limitations of an NDA. I wish I had known when I started that they didn't apply to crimes, because I was frightened of that idea. Now, when it comes to online content, so websites like OnlyFans, which I use as my secondary income, when you sign up to that platform, we cannot see the name on your bank card or anything like that. We can see the username that you enter onto the platform. So let's say you make your username Freddy Fish, okay, we can see that. But if you don't put your name in it, we don't know who you are. There are, on my platform, I would say there are about 10 or 15 guys subscribed to my page that I know who they are. I've either met them in person or they use their real name and a little photo of their face on their profile, right? So it feels a little bit more personal. But most of our fans, we don't have any idea who they are. So for all we know, they could be a family member, they could be an old boss. We really have no fucking clue. So if you're concerned about that sort of discretion, we honestly cannot see who the hell you are. Oh, darling, did you want to say hello to the camera? Oh. When it comes to your bank statements, when paying for things in terms of discretion, online, some banks will just come up as Phoenix Equity, which is OnlyFans. So it's very discreet. I don't think most people would know what Phoenix Equity is. Some banks, it will show as OF or OnlyFans Trading. It really depends on the bank. So maybe just do a little bit of digging if that's a concern for you when paying for content and subscriptions and that kind of thing. If you know that coming up on the bank statement is going to be a red flag. In terms of discretion when paying for in-person services, we definitely get clients who are quite annoyed that they can't just pay the whole amount in cash and that they actually have to pay a deposit. And they'll often use the excuse of, well, I don't want my wife seeing, I don't want my partner seeing, I don't want any record that I've come to see you. And generally, we need a paper trail if we're to be unalived at the booking, because that's a genuine risk for us, okay? These things really do happen. You can look it up. There are multiple cases where sex workers were murdered, okay? Now, if you're unable to do a normal bank transfer, because that's the biggest giveaway, why can you not use BMIT? It just comes up as BMIT purchase on your bank account. Your partner, your wife would have no idea what that BMIT purchase for $200 is. You can come up with a backstory. If that's still not an option, you can go into your bank and you can do a cash deposit to somebody else's account, okay? So you can just go in with $200 in cash, hand it to the bank teller, tell them what bank account you're trying to send the money to, and they will put it into my account or another worker's account, okay? This method does not show us your legal name if that is a concern for you. However, if we were to be murdered at your booking, they would be able to access things like the security cameras and the bank teller's transaction history and work out who you are. But me as a provider, that method, I don't have your legal name. I don't have anything about you from that. So if that's something that you're worried about, there is that option. At the end of the day, generally, at least in my experience, I don't really care who you are, if you're trying to hide your identity or you're trying to book under an alias, whatever the case is, but there needs to be some sort of paper trail if I'm murdered. Whether that be the transfer itself, whether that be BMIT, which we can't see your legal name on BMIT the same way you can't see ours. However, if we're murdered, it can be traced because when you signed up to BMIT, you entered your passport or your driver's license, okay? Same thing with this ATM cash deposit. They can track who it was. We can get to the bottom of things, right? So it's all about us just trying to protect ourselves and protect our time too. I mean, I am not gonna put hair and makeup and all of this together to see a client and then them just not show up because they didn't pay a deposit, okay? So just be mindful with that. I am definitely rambling now and the sun is starting to blind me, but yeah, I hope this has been helpful regarding NDAs, discretion, a little bit about deposits and keeping your identity secret while still keeping us safe at the same time. And yeah, I think the main thing here is if you go into it not intending to hurt a worker like myself, we have no intention to hurt you either. This is our livelihood, this is our job, and in my experience, I make most of my money off repeat clients. I don't intend to hurt them by any means, but if they hurt me, I shouldn't be out here having to protect them. That's only fair. So I hope that someone's enjoyed this, and I'm going to edit this, schedule it out, and maybe brush these cats because the fluff is going everywhere today. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day.